Welcome back to The Big Picture. We are joined by Columbus Police Sergeant James Fuqua. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Let me just start
Yes.
by saying the best hair combo in
Oh,
TV.
thank
You guys
you.
are working it.
Alrighty, I'm recording on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
going to use that for some shameless self-promotion.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, Sergeant Fuqua, thank you so much for coming on. We know the summertime is especially busy for you guys. Let's start with Pride, because that was a huge event that we had. It went off without a hitch, which we were just talking about. Last year, there were some issues. So what did you do differently this year?
Well, the biggest thing was we learned from last year. And even though that was an isolated event that had nothing to do with Pride, we learned that, hey, we need to be a little more aggressive on the peripheral leading up to the event. So we not only worked with our federal partners, but we, from the inside out, had more staffing, more technology to ensure that it was a safe and friendly march. So.
Right. And then looking into, because we've got Red, White, and Boom coming up in this next week. We also have ComFest this weekend. So we've got two more events that bring in
A lot of people.
oodles of people into downtown Columbus. I mean, really, Red, White, and Boom behind Pride is the second largest of the summertime. We've talked a lot about these teen takeovers that we're seeing here in Columbus, but also across the country. What is Columbus Police trying to do to make sure that this doesn't keep disrupting events?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with these kids is learning from not only our past mistakes or things that we could have done better, but we also have looked at other cities and some of the things that they're doing, because it's not just a Columbus problem. Obviously, it's a national problem. And the biggest thing we are consistently seeing is the lack of parenting, if we're being honest. The lack of accountability at home from where these kids come from, where they don't really have an adult in the room to tell them right from wrong. So you may see in the near future us holding parents more accountable for some of these things that young teens are doing.
Right. And I know that's always, in other youth-related crime, that has always been kind of an, the frustration that's been raised by your officers is that you guys aren't the ones to discipline and prosecute. You can only
You're gonna do
arrest,
so
and then
much.
that goes into the hands of the juvenile justice system. Has that still been an issue of maybe these kids just being set back out?
Yeah, we have to address the elephant in the room and be honest that these kids do not fear consequence. They know, they've told us, we've had it on record in the back of our cruisers when they are being arrested saying, well, I'm not worried about this. I'm going to get out in a couple of hours and I'm going to do it again. So we are one part of that cog of the justice wheel. And this isn't a finger pointing or blaming, but we all have to be accountable. So not just us when we make the arrest, but our prosecutors, our judges, our magistrates, the parents. Again, everybody has to step up at this point and hold these kids accountable. So we're going to continue to do the work on the front end, and we hope that over time, the relationship that we're trying to build with the judges and the juvenile system as a whole will get better.
Absolutely. And we know car break-ins are another thing that teens are super into doing right now. Just in May of this year, 10 were arrested, and including adult, with this ring of car break-in operation. I mean, that was a big deal. Obviously, that was a success for your department, but how did you continue to hold these kids accountable after getting charged with these felonies? And again, like working with the Justice Department to make sure that this stops at some point.
Yeah, the thing with the car break-ins that's most frustrating is it's not just a Columbus problem. Last week when we had a huge break-in on the west side that spilled into Hilliard. So we work with our suburban agencies, and they're having the same type of issue. So we are coordinating constantly to figure out, okay, what group do you have? What are some of the suspect descriptions to determine, okay, is this a group that's only doing it in Columbus, or are they doing it in Central Ohio? And what we're finding is these groups are terrorizing not just Columbus, but all the suburban areas around Central Ohio. So before, like when we had that case with the 10 juveniles and the adult, that was a months-long investigation that we kept under wraps for a reason. And without saying too much, we're continuing those same efforts because it was so successful. So I would highly anticipate us breaking up more groups in the future.
Right, because a ring poses extra complexities, I suppose, than just 5 or 6, a group of 5 or 6 friends doing this. You've got at that point a structure, a communication level that's going on there that once some go away, then you've got other people who step up, and it just continues to grow and form, breaking down that structure has to be a challenge.
It's an extremely difficult challenge because, again, it goes back to some of these kids do not fear the consequences. So their actions, even when caught, they continue to do it. So that's why we have to have stricter enforcement and penalties on the back end to prevent them from thinking, oh, well, it's just a slap on the wrist. So we're going to continue to be aggressive throughout not just the summer, but the rest of the year, not only with the car break-ins, but several other things that we think are a ring of young people committing crimes.
And in the vein of just holding parents accountable, the city of Columbus is obviously looking at passing that new legislation to decrease.
They're going to move up.
They're going to move
curfew to
up
10.
the curfew to 10. Do you think that's going to be helpful? What is the police department's opinion on all of this?
Well, I think, pardon me, I do believe that it is necessary. I've done the studies and done the research where some advocates say, well, changing the curfew up really doesn't help and it doesn't affect, but it absolutely does because, again, it goes back to with young people, when they know they're not supposed to be out and we hold them accountable as well as holding parents and guardians accountable, at some point the dam won't break to the point where it's just going to continue to happen. We'll be able to build up that wall. We'll be able to build up a tolerance to where there will be action on young people, and we'll be able to say, hey, look, if you are out past the new time frame, you will get a curfew violation and you will have to show up to court and someone will have to be accountable for you. So it's important.
Right. One final thing, just to kind of wrap things up with Red, White, and Boom next weekend. Talk to us a little bit about what folks can expect to see from your officers.
Well, we say it every year, but it has not changed this year. You will see horses, you will see bicycles, you will see officers on foot, you will see the helicopter unit, you will see drones. Every possible thing we have at our disposal in terms of safety and accountability and visibility, we will be out there. So we want it to be a safe, friendly, fun environment, and we're going to do everything in our power to make that happen. And just one other note, if you're bringing young kids down, we will have several missing persons booths. We highly suggest that you take a picture of what your young person is wearing. I know it sounds silly, but every year we have several kids that get lost for a temporary amount of time. And having that description and that picture of what they look like, it helps us tremendously in tracking those young people down.
Right, because there were two kids that got briefly lost, misplaced at the Pride Festival at Goodale Park in this past weekend, but they were quickly found because here's what they look like, et cetera, and people were able to be like, here's
That
your
is
kid.
helpful.
Yes.
So, all right, Sergeant James Fuqua, thanks
Well,
so much.
actually, I have a final question. While you have the mic, what is your message to parents? I mean, Red, White, and Boom is a huge event. What is your one message to them about, keeping their kids safe and parenting, actually?
Number one, know where they are. Number two, know who they are with. And number three, if you don't know 1 and 2, you should find them and hold them accountable, meaning you don't want something to happen at a major event that your child could potentially be involved in, and God forbid something bad happens. But we want you as a parent to make sure you know where your child is on that date. So either be with them or know who they're with and make sure they are being responsible.
All right, Sergeant Fuqua, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.